What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Great Men with Shane Sams. And I've got a great man with me today. I got Dustin Heiner, the man, the myth, the successfully unemployed legend. What's up, brother? What are you
Hey
doing, man?
Shane, good to hang out with you again. It's been too long, and I remember when we first met is in 2020, January, February ish,
Right, right,
2020,
literally right before the pandemic broke out,
right
dude.
before
Like,
everything started going down. And then you and I had a fantastic conversation. You changed my life. Now I do have a membership, and just like it's when you're around awesome people, you
yeah,
see
man.
what they're doing, and they give you, and if they're not jerks, they're gonna point you in a direction. Hey, I think this will work for you. And that worked for me, and it's been so fantastic since then. But then ever since then, just developing an even deeper relationship, hanging out together, having cigars together, and having you speak on my main stage, all that sort of stuff has just been so
All the stuff,
fantastic.
man.
And then
It's
now
funny.
we yeah, we all just
Go
work
ahead, go ahead.
together. We all just help each other out where we are personally.
Exactly, man. It's funny. You can't point to a lot of people who you became instant friends with. and like
I
and
agree.
that, and like it's funny because you never know how like a friendship with another dude's going to start out. And it was funny because we were some kind of Asian restaurant or something. I was with a mutual friend of yours, and we all met for lunch. And it's hilarious. I'll try to find that picture. I need to post that picture when I post this on social media because we sat down and we immediately had conflict. Dude, we were staunchly on different sides of a
I
of a
love it.
business opinion. Me, in a former life, I was a membership guy. I still am a huge believer in communities. Building communities, I think, is one of the most valuable things that anybody can do in business or in life. And we were talking about membership communities, and you were talking about coaching programs or something. And me and Dustin threw down,
We sure
ladies and
did.
gentlemen. We
Like we
threw
locked
down.
eyes. It was like that old Western, where the
Wee, wee,
tumbleweeds are
woo,
flying
wah,
by and we're
wah,
getting ready to
wah.
stand.
That's so stereotypical for dudes though. Like, you think about your friends in life. Like, I know that like at least four of my oldest friends I've punched in the face. Like literally. And they've hit me in the face. And like that's what dudes do, man. That's what we
It
do, bro.
is. It
Yeah,
is. And
yeah, man.
there's a term that it's gone away, and I wish it would come back for guys. It's called "I'm busting your balls," like busting
Oh
somebody's
yeah,
balls.
totally,
It's
man.
like it's like what guys should be doing, but guys get a little more weak, and that's why I love the Great Men Project. I think, hey, this is fantastic, and just the life lessons that we've all learned that made us better and better men, and eventually becoming great
Share them and
men.
see if they work, bro. You know what I'm saying? I got a saying with my friends, with my core group, my mastermind that I'm in, is your real guy friends will talk shit to your face, but they won't take shit from anyone about you behind your back. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
And that's what
Absolutely.
it's all about, having dudes in your life, man. This concept of greatness came to me recently because, about a year ago, dude, I mean, you're like me. We've accomplished so much, more than I ever thought I would have ever. I guarantee you, more than any of my teachers thought I would ever accomplish in the real world. And by any objective measure, bro, I mean, I have a great life. I am totally blessed. I feel, we have worked really hard for what we have. But I realized at one point, man, that I was building a great life based on somebody else's checklist. You know what I'm saying? That vibe. It's like I'm doing all these things that everybody says leads to a great life, and it does. It's all the ingredients. But I started asking myself a question like, is this a great life for me? Right? Like, I'll give you an example. One of the things, my dad's a great man, an absolute one of the finest human beings that you've ever met in your life. And one of the things he always said to me in my 20s before I had kids was, I never missed a ball game. I was at every ball game. And the point was, he had his own business. It was never really super huge or successful, but he paid the bills and he was able to take off and come to our games. And I remember taking that into my parenting world. And I really lived in, I mean, I took my kids to school every day for 10 years, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I went to every ball game, everything else. And then I started like really, when I would miss a game, I would guilt and shame and feel terrible for days. And I realized that I didn't know what it meant to be a great dad for me. So I just adopted what was a great dad meant for my dad. And I kind of let that go, and I had so much more peace, and my kids didn't care, and like all these different things happened. And that really led to this question, like, what does a great life look like for Dustin Heiner? Like, I know you live on your own terms, But for you, like, what has that evolved into on a day-to-day basis? Like, what's greatness for you in your life?
Greatness for me, and it's definitely changed over the years. At
Totally.
first, it was I need to provide for my family. Well, I've been married, very blessed to be married for 20 years now. We got 5 kids. It's so amazing. I'm very, very blessed.
And what do you do
And
for a living, just so everybody knows, kind of with some context, real quick?
I'm saying, say one more time.
And what do you do for a living? Tell everybody about you,
Oh, yeah,
what you do,
yeah.
real quick. Yeah,
So
just so
I
everybody knows.
personally started investing in real estate back in 2006. Just bought property after property, each rental properties, single family homes, short-term rental, long-term rental, all the above. Eventually, I had 30 plus properties. In 2016, I was like, I don't need to work anymore. Like, this is for suckers. Let me quit. And so I quit my job, but then people were asking me how to do it. So I just started coaching friends and family members, just showing them how to do it. And then I realized two things, Shane, and you get this. I had plenty of free time and I enjoy it. So
Yeah.
I thought, let me just start helping people. So I wrote some books, best-selling books and podcasts and YouTube channel, coaching courses and conferences, which you've spoken at. So
Great content. Your Instagram is one of my favorite. I laughed so hard the other day because you had a post that said you were doing snatch or deadlift, and it said it is proven that jorts make you stronger. And I don't know why I found that so funny, dude, but I laughed at that. I sent that to 10 people, dude.
it's
That was amazing.
it is it's scientifically you can't argue against
You
science.
can't argue the
It's
logic.
you
I mean, you
can't.
can't. I can't argue the logic, dude.
If you don't know what jorts are jeans that are cut short at your thigh and they're stretchy. And
And
I
they're
do
too
Olympic
tight,
lifting.
and they're 3 sizes too tight that you should
Exactly.
have got rid of
So
6 years ago.
my wife hates them, but I love them. So for me, I first needed to get money to be able to provide for my family. So what I think a great man does, if I boil everything down, and I haven't really fleshed this out completely,
Totally,
but
that's
if
what
I
we're doing
boil
here.
everything down, a great man takes care of his responsibilities. That's it,
Ooh.
for me. I know I have responsibilities. Number one is to be a Christ follower, being a church, going to church for my whole life, reading the Bible every multiple days, and being a Christ follower. Number one, I need to serve God. I need to not sin. I need to not do bad things that are, against God. So that's number one. Number two, I need to also serve my wife. I'm married, so I have a wife, and I do not put my children on the same level as my wife. Like
I
if
agree with that. I totally
yeah,
agree with
so
that. Yeah.
for me, it's God first, then my wife, then my children, and then my responsibilities that come with that, like job and business and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of people think they start thinking the question of like, let me put my spouse, like my families together. I don't think so because eventually I've seen marriages fall apart where the child or the children become the marriage. And then when the children are gone, you don't have a marriage anymore. And so I like putting it in that order. But to get quickly back to your idea of like, what's greatness for me, it's whatever responsibilities that I have in front of me, I take care of them with honor, respect, and like it's my duty to take care of
Mhm.
these responsibilities, feeding my family, putting a roof over our heads. Now, fast forward, let me bring it all full circle. I'm very blessed to have enough money because I invest in real estate. But that money then allows me to not work for somebody else 40 plus hours of my life back every single week to do whatever I want. But then that money leads to time freedom. So money freedom,
Mm.
check. Then time freedom, where I now have time in my life to do whatever I want. But then at the same time, that time freedom gives you a relationship freedom where you now build back in those relationships. You shore up those relationships that you may have sacrificed or had problems getting to the point where you have money freedom and time freedom. Then you develop that. Now, here's the last one. This is the 4 legacies that we need to have in our life. Money leads into time leads into relationships, shore those up. Then the last one is service. And this is
Mm.
where I'm at now. And you are too. The reason why you have the show is because you're trying to serve other men, helping them to be great. And so for me, the responsibilities that I have, number one, to God, number two, to my wife, number three, to my children. Now, number four is a service to other people because all those other 4 are checked off. Now it's
Yeah.
about how to serve people. And then those are my responsibilities as a man. I'll give you one quick last thing because the idea that every husband or man, dad, needs to go to every one of the kids' games, needs to be there at everything. I personally don't agree to that. I definitely
Yeah.
don't ascribe to that. And the big reason why, if I needed to, and I didn't have anything that I had now, but it took me sweeping the streets every single day for 20 hours a day. I go home, sleep for 4 hours, I go back to work in order to feed my family, put a roof over their heads, to protect them. I would do that. I would forego all that sort of stuff because people ask me or they say, what do you think about work life balance? I said, I don't. Work-life balance. There's no
Yeah, I don't
such
either.
thing. I have
Yeah.
responsibilities because I'm a man. I take care of those responsibilities.
It's so interesting talking to guys and hearing like how these worldviews pop out. You know what I'm saying? Like it is super interesting like that because it all. I mean, I guess they're all seeded like from our past. You know what I'm saying? Like whether we had a dad or an uncle or a teacher or you pick up these things because you don't know what the hell you're doing until you're like 35 years old. Honestly, like Carl
I
Jung said that.
100% agree.
Carl Jung said that. I think he said something like life up to 40 is just a dress rehearsal or something like that. It's just practice,
That's
and
a
then like
good. I like that.
and like life begins at 40 because you actually have some concept of what's happening. I like that responsibility first. You know, I think what I have seen from guys that have, struggled in that midlife crisis era, that later in life, is they accepted a bunch of responsibilities from somebody else. And like they didn't want that responsibility. I'm a big believer like you. My foundation of greatness also is based on my commitments and responsibilities. I think that you have to start there, especially if you have momentum. Like we all know that like some guys bail on their families, and like I don't care what you do after that. I mean, that may be greatness for you, but like it's totally not what it is for most of the great men that I've like ever met. But sovereignty is something you touched on there with financial freedom, with time freedom. How do you think that has helped you choose these responsibilities? Because you've been going hard since 2006.
Yeah,
We've had freedom for a lot longer than most people, well, quite frankly, ever experienced. What we've
ever.
experienced over the last 15, 20 years, and I don't even know how my life actually happened. But like, how has sovereignty really helped you pick the responsibilities you want, right? Because this is
So
your list. Like, how did sovereignty play into that?
yeah, that question ties into something you said that is really pertinent. At least for me, it helps me to really wrap this around my mind around it. Is men get to a midlife and they get to it's called a midlife crisis. Is basically, like what have I done with my life, and all they start questioning things, and they start maybe buy a Ferrari, like, or a motorcycle, like they have to do something that they weren't able to. And you touched on it because there's one compartment of it where they are doing something that somebody else has told them to do, like,
Yeah.
okay, follow X, Y, and Z path. That's one. But here's the second one that really, I think, what really creates that midlife crisis. It's they do it not from somebody else's opinion or what they should do, but for somebody else. Meaning, when
Ooh,
you're working a
that's interesting.
job, when you're building somebody else's business, when you're doing something, just you're trading time for money, you're doing that for something else, someone else, another business, another organization, whatever it might be. Whereas you and I was blessed in 2016 to be able to quit my job. And everything that I do now is for me. So that I
Yeah.
honestly, I'm 46 now. I think I'm 46. Yeah. And being 46, I thought that I should have a midlife crisis, but I'm only looking forward now because I'm not even thinking about
We
I'm
had our midlife crisis like 20 years ago when we quit our
exactly
jobs.
when we're just like,
we just
what
we
am I
just got
doing
there
here?
early, bro.
I'm
That's all
working
it was.
here, working my life away.
I had a mid-20s crisis. What are you talking about, man?
Exactly.
Jesus.
But that goes to your question was sovereignty or freedom or personal ability to not be dependent on somebody else. That was for me because I was laid off when we had our fourth child. After getting laid off from my job, I realized that I can't let this happen again. I need to make sure nobody could take away my ability to feed my family. So I started investing in real estate, started building businesses because that was the wake up call. That was
Yeah.
the huge wake up call. And then I realized with financial freedom is that word. It's not just financial freedom, it's sovereignty to be able to have your own capacity to do whatever you want. And then that's when you're building in greatness. Then you start thinking about how do I serve other people? That's honestly, this is what separates good men from great men. Good men, they're going to take care of their responsibilities, but great men look
Yes.
after other people. They look at how do I serve other people? How do I build other people up? Those are great men.
Yeah. That's one of the concepts that we explore here is like, I think the world does people get mad at like all these different things, and I don't get into it, but like, I think the world is pretty good at making good men. I don't think we're in as bad a shape as some people do. I think, of course, masculinity's been under attack for a decade now, but like, when you see a lot of people do that, they go to school, they get the grades, they're a good worker, they meet their needs. They may lose their ambition like along the way. But like we kind of buy this lie that, that being a good man is good enough. Like that's kind of what people kind of like adopt. And there's not there's no orientation of like how to choose greatness. And then sovereignty for me, and I'm not bashing anybody that like I know a lot of entrepreneurs that are thriving, great men. They're exactly where they want to be. You know what I'm saying? That's cool. But like sovereignty for me, like from finances, from time, from all of that stuff, it gave me the space to be able to figure out like what I actually wanted in life and like what I actually wanted to do in life. And I'll tell you another trap for me. The spouse is the hardest one because like it is that's your person, and that's your primary goal in life is to make this woman happy, you know what I'm saying, and take care of her. But I think a lot of guys too, they get the entrepreneur thing, they get the thing, and then responsibility becomes everything. There's no room for them. Guys like you that I'm friends with, like I know we have a lot of interests. Like you and I like to lift weights, freaking love cigars. Our wives know that we are going to be on an airplane going to a conference somewhere at some point. You know what I'm saying? But like I think the really the launch into to greatness for most guys is being able to do those things that they actually want to do. Like I would actually edit my list a little bit from your like my wife is definitely my priority. My kids are definitely priority. But I actually added myself before others now, like even before service to others. But this is new for me in the last couple of years. You know, just thinking like, dude, am I serving like myself, my life? Like I'm handling my responsibilities, but like I think guys for some reason choose to be a martyr right at the edge of greatness. You know what I'm saying? Like how do you take care of yourself in that list? Like when you're going out to other people. I know you're addicted to like talking to people and stuff, but where did you put yourself into all that? Once you had the financial success, once you had the time freedom, you know your wife and your kids are okay. Like how do you take care of Dustin? Like how do you look for
So
greatness just on an
I'm
individual
a,
level?
yeah, I love the word honor, and also like the idea of stoicism. Like we have a
Yeah,
duty.
yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah, we have a duty. We have something that we have to take care of. And if like serving God, serving my wife, and serving my children, serving my family, I will absolutely forego, like you said, like ourselves come after that. But at the same time, I also realized I actually put myself to a detriment. Like I would even continue to burn down, even if it was at or if it's at the expense of my duty. No, I don't ever mess up my duty. Like my honor and
Totally.
everything, I go after that. But then I started realizing that because I focused on that first piece, which was the financial piece, when I have that financial freedom, I was freed to now focus on myself. Here's a funny thing, Shane.
There you go.
So I now can focus on myself, but I don't even think about it. Like it's not even like, oh, I got to take care of myself now. It is in my calendar and you'll love this. My calendar is blank. I love having nothing on my calendar. In fact, I had one other thing on my calendar. It was talking to one of my coaches here at Master Passive Income. It was talking to you. Yesterday, I didn't have anything on my calendar. Tomorrow, there's
I
nothing on my
hate
calendar.
appointments. Despise
Exactly.
them. I hate
So
them.
it's now the self is now a part of my life because I worked
Mm,
hard. Like for 10 years, I worked my tail off to get real estate, to get businesses and everything. And myself was not even in there.
yeah.
I would wake up, you probably have done the same thing. I would wake up at 4:30 in the morning, go to the gym at 5 o'clock, and CrossFit, do it for an hour, then take a shower, go to my business, start my business at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and then leave my employees, go to my work for 8, 9, 10 hours, then go back to my business and
Hmm.
close down the shop, and then go home at 7 p.m., have dinner, kiss a kid, my wife, good night, go to sleep, and do it all over again. I did that for years.
Yeah.
And I realized, and it wasn't to the detriment of myself because I have delayed gratification. I knew everything that I was doing was going to make it in the future be so much more amazing than it is today. Even though today's
Mm,
tough, today was hard, but it made me so much stronger, so much more reliable on myself and my family to be able to rely on me because everything I've gone through has made me who I am today. But then I look back and I say, all that stuff that I went through, that was all a stepping stone of helping me be stronger man, more resilient, more capable, and more honorable to continue to move forward. And so
mm,
I look now, things that come up in my life, I'm like, oh, this is nothing. I've been through so much more in the past. Now
yeah.
this is going to be easy for me because I've already as best I can, made myself my entire calendar, helping me to be a better man or a great man to serve other people.
Yeah, Kirk. Do you know who Kirk Duplessis is? He runs
No,
like Option Alpha. It's a very cool brand, but like he's got all kinds of software and stuff doing stock investing. But I was on a mastermind retreat with him one time, and he said something that really stuck with me. And I think this is the core of why a lot of guys get stuck or feel like they're getting lost in the shuffle, or their responsibilities end up being burdens, or their duties and their chosen things is because guys don't solve the income problem. They get a job, they might even have a career, but it might go away, or there's always this stress, or there's always this thinking out. And I think that does like get you some anxiety in the back of your head of, because it doesn't matter how much well work is going, if you know it could go away, you're always anxious about like providing for tomorrow. You're right. Like I look back at building our companies, it's kind of the same way as you. Like, we did a lot, especially my seminar company when I had a live event company and we were traveling all over
that
the
was nuts.
place.
I remember you telling me about that. I was like, how
Freaking
are you doing it?
nuts. It was, dude, me and Jocelyn were on the road. We take the kids with us sometimes, but like we were on the road so much. And the kids were here a lot, but like at the same time, I do look at like all the investment in reputation, investment in finances, investment in just all the things that we do now. It really did open it up to be able to explore these things more now. And as your kids get older, like how old are your kids? What's your oldest kid?
17.
Yeah, me too. I got a 17-year-old, right? Like I'm 17 and 15, and I'm actually looking at what we were just talking about a second ago. Like those jokers are independent. Isaac's driving now, and like there is going to be a place where they're gone. And it's funny because I think a lot of guys look back and say, "Gosh, I missed all that time when I was building all this stuff, doing this with the kids." But like that's only looking at the challenges, not looking at the benefits and the possibilities of every decision a man makes, because like I'm so confident my kids are going to be okay because they had that season where they were a little more independent and they were staying with the grandparents on the weekends and they were doing some of those things, and it's opened that door for me now, like to be able to do that stuff. And that's
Well,
hard, man, when you work for somebody else. Not that there's
well,
anything
I
wrong with that, but it's really hard when you are building on other people's visions instead of your own.
Yeah, and when you have that financial piece intact, meaning you don't have to worry about money again, it frees you as a person to do things you would probably never would have. And I mean, the amazing feeling of not even having to think about your mortgage payment or rent, like that is so amazing. It's so freeing. I make so much more money now than I worked a job because I now put all my effort into my own businesses, my own real
Yeah,
estate,
yeah.
my own value. Because when you're working for somebody else, you know you are getting paid less than your worth because the boss has to make some money. And this is how you'll know that your boss
Profit's a
is
part
paying
of the
you so
game.
much less.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
So
always being paid less than value when you're an employee. That just
exactly.
is true. That's what employers do, is they hire someone cheaper than themselves to be able to do those
100%.
things so they can keep the
And so
profit.
you as a man, you're worth so much more than anybody could ever pay you. So if you, and this is all you'll know, your boss is paying you just enough to keep you working without quitting, but not so much money it takes money out of their pocket. If they paid you what you were worth, they would go broke. So like what Shane and I do is we found ways to 100% of the value that we have as a man, we get 100% of the benefit instead of somebody else siphoning
Totally.
off. So once, and we can move on from the financial piece, but I
Yeah,
really
totally.
want everybody to realize when you do have that financial piece taken care of, so many things open up that you would never even thought that would have happened.
Yeah, yeah. I think that if you don't, it's very hard to achieve greatness, whether you want to work for somebody else or yourself, if you're behind the eight ball. Like that's the moral of the story. Like you've got to, if you want to pursue a great life and not just a getting by good enough life, you got to solve that money problem. But money also is not the answer to everything.
Well, it's a means
Um,
to an end. It's a means to an end, is
it's
all
a
it is.
means to an end, and if you're not careful, those goals go crazy too, dude. I'll tell you a quick story, and then I want to see if this has ever happened to you. Like when we launched our seminar company, it exploded, and there was a month where we did, I believe it was over $830,000 in sales in one month. And, and of course, there's the cost to that, guys. Don't think I'm just pocketing 800 grand. You know
There's
what I'm
a
saying?
hotels are crazy and boy.
There's a few expenses in marketing for that, but like it was funny because I used to make $36,000 a year as a school teacher, dude. I did that for a decade, y'all. I know exactly what that's like. Okay. And I thought I was doing pretty good actually. And we got that. And I remember I was in a meeting I had my leadership people with me, and I was like, I caught myself being so disappointed because we didn't hit the $1 million month. And it was funny because at that moment, I realized I had once again started playing someone else's game. I just thought, we almost got to 1 million. We're going to get it next time. What are we doing here? And I was like, holy shit, that was $800,000. Like, that is insanity to make that many sales. I mean, we worked our butts off for it, but like, I just started looking at it going, why does the goalpost getting moved? Why does the scoreboard keep changing? Like, I remember the first time that we ever did $100,000 in a month in one of our membership sites. And in that moment of this wasn't good enough, I remembered that moment, and I was like, that was the greatest thing I had ever seen because it showed me what's possible. Then I went back even farther, dude, and I remembered I remember the first time we made $10,000 in a month. And I had never felt so financially free. Like I think that the money game, if you're not playing your game, can be a huge hindrance in building the
Oh,
life that you
absolutely. I mean, that's
actually.
what Rockefeller said when asked the question, how much money is enough? He said, just a little bit more. Just
Mm,
constantly and if you make money the end in itself, trust me, you will be sorely mistaken. At the end of your life, you're gonna be thinking, all I have, I can't take it with me. And you and I both know this, that the only legacy, as you get older, you start thinking about your legacy. But the only legacy we will ever leave, I don't care if you have a foundation, I don't care if you have a building with your name on it, all that sort of stuff, those can all be taken down. The only legacy you will leave are your children
that's
and
it,
their
man.
children and
Yep.
everything that come from you. They're the ones that if you set them up well, they're going to be able to create their own legacy and so on. And then your legacy as a great man has a foundation that helps future generations change their lives.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah, my dad had a business, and he always wanted us to come into it and work. And I did it for a couple years, and it actually gave me really good feedback on because I think that's what most men when they start a business kind of think. Well, I'm going to leave this to my kids, or I'm going to sell it and provide an inheritance. And when I got into that, I was like, this is not the It's like that Varsity Blues. What's that guy just died? What's that dude's name? The quarterback? He just
Yeah,
passed
yeah.
away from
I can't remember
cancer.
his name, but I know what
I
you're
can't
talking
remember
about.
his name.
Yep.
But like he was like, I don't want your life. You know what I'm saying? Like I had that moment, like literally happen in my thing. And it's funny, like with my businesses, I mean, we've sold businesses, we've built multiple businesses, we've done all those things. I've never really built it as a part of my legacy. I've never really. It's funny. I've never really built that as like I'm going to leave it to the kids, or I mean, of course, I want to leave them money and stuff or whatever. But like as my kids have gotten older, they don't want to work with us. They don't want to do what we do. Like they don't like posting on social media, let alone getting on here and talking on a podcast in front of a bunch of people. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And
The
each
legacy's not
person,
money. It's not money. It doesn't
100%.
feel like that's correct. When
Yeah.
you get to this point, and you make a bunch of money, guys. I'm telling you, that doesn't feel right as an inheritance for your kids. You know what I'm
You want
saying?
your kids when you're old and on your deathbed, Lord willing, you're to live old and you're going to be there and your whole family's going to be around you. You're going to have all your kids, all your grandkids. That is where you're going to have a full life. You're going to look
Yeah.
back and say, I have a full life because I have a family that loves me, not possessions. Like all the possessions that we buy are eventually going to go away. Oh, so one thing came to mind that I want to bring up, might be a little controversial, but it kind of goes along with what we're talking about, or definitely goes along with what we're talking about. To be a great man, though, you need to not, well, I'm going to say it. If
Let's
you're a
go.
man, you need to do what men are supposed to do. You should not be a mom. This is
Mm.
100%. I'm going to be straightforward.
Uh-oh.
If you start becoming a mom to and identifying, like I saw this, there's a bunch of businesses popping up where dad is part of the name of the business. Like there's one like dadpreneur. Like, why would you like you're a dadpreneur? Like the highest thing that we can do is like that. No, being a dad is not the highest and best thing. In fact, I'll be very, very controversial because I know this world is now going to tell me I'm chauvinistic, but I don't care. The highest and best thing for a woman is by far creating more human beings. That's the highest and best thing for them because men can't do that. If there was only men, this
There wouldn't
world,
be any of
we
us
would
left.
not, yes, we would stop. And so the highest and best thing for women, now they could do so much more. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they can't, but I'm saying men should not take away from women their highest and best thing, which is being a mom. Women need to identify as a mom because that's nobody else can do that. No men can ever do anything like that. Men should focus on what we can do outside of the family, outside of the, give me an example of how that looks like. My wife, she is so amazing. Everything inside the household, every single thing inside the home, from food to the raising the kids, rearing them up, everything, she takes care of all that. Everything outside the home, from protection to finance to what you name it, everything outside the home, that's my purview. That's what I have to take care of. Instead of me thinking, well, my highest and best use is being a dad. Like, no, if I can't feed my family, then what good is being a dad? So my point is, I think men should not identify, if you want to use that word, but like see themselves as just being a dad, or that's the highest. No, there's so much more that we have that we cannot do like a mom does. Is this all making sense?
It totally makes sense. I see what you're saying. I think the big shift that I'm seeing right now, because you know my wife. My wife is a baller entrepreneur. I mean, when I met Jocelyn, it was we were there was never a doubt that she wanted to work. You know what I'm saying? She wanted to be like self-sufficient, just in case, because I might get hit by a bus. You never know. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. But like at the same time, as we've had children and as they got older, we ran shotgun pretty hard until about 2022. And then, there was a clear point where Jocelyn was like, I'm ready to step back from this. These kids need their mom. And she still does things with our business. I mean, we still work together. But there was a point where, especially when the seminar company was huge, like she kind of stepped back from that, and I just kind of went on the road. She got off the podcast. She stopped doing those things because there does seem to be, a reality. If you have a partner, if you have a wife, if you have, a spouse, there does seem to be a reality where these masculine and feminine roles are there. It's not sexist to say, how are we going to like delegate some of this like in our relationship, right? And I think that a lot of dudes, I think I've done this in the past too. I'll step up and say this before. We all have masculine and feminine. There's always these roles that we have inside of us, but like the same time they skew one way or the other. And I think that a lot of dudes rely on their wife in the masculine too much, or they rely on too many decisions, or they do step out of that, hunter gatherer, keep what you
Can I
kill,
give you a
leave
reason why?
leave the cave every day and all that stuff. Yeah, tell me what you think.
The reason why, and I'll be completely straightforward and say this: men are lazy. Men are
Mm,
like, now we can have the ability for greatness where we can push, but our natural default is, let's just sit on the couch. My responsibility's done. Or I went to the work and I just go sit on the couch afterwards and not.
you think that's like there's an ingrained in us that as soon as we meet the basic needs, we just chill, like or
Kind of
something
seems
like
like
that.
it.
You know
Well,
what I'm
we
saying?
we get so lackadaisical, and it's just like, hey, we're settling for the okay, or we're just like, things are taken care of. Now I just want to watch the football, or I just want to be distracted, or something like that. I just think in general, men are very, very we tend to err on the side of being lazy, but the
Mm,
people who are
interesting.
become great, they shove that away. They shove that
Mm,
aside and say, no, I'm going to do more. I'm going to be more because I know I can, as opposed to where the world tells you, oh, just, be a dad, stay at home, go watch the kids when they go, go to work. That's what they say. Go to work, be a cog in a machine, and then go watch your kids play soccer, or, coach
mm.
them or something like that. That's the highest and best use for you. I'm like, no, no, no. I'm more than an employee because I know that's what the world wants. They want cogs in a machine. Well, you need to get out of that machine, get out of the matrix, and start your own thing, meaning business, real estate, whatever it might be, so that you're focusing on more than you currently are, because it's easy just to status quo.
I wonder too, like, I'm thinking back at some of the ways I've felt in life, like where I've felt lazy. And that usually comes from some kind of overwhelm, I think, with dudes. Like I've noticed that guys, when they get into that rut, like I'm thinking of like a couple of my friends right now who are definitely in that rut. They get overwhelmed, but not because they've got too much crap to do. It's like they get overwhelmed because they don't know what to do. You know what I'm
100%.
saying? You know what
100%.
I'm saying? Like they don't
Yep.
have any like I
They
don't
don't,
want to
maybe
say
it could also be
foundation.
vision, like lack of direction. When you have a direction of where you're going,
Yeah, like an
that's where you're
aim.
going towards.
Yeah, man. And like you do these things. The classic scenario is I did what everyone told me. I went to school, got the job, and now this sucks. And I'm just gonna go home and I'm gonna medicate, or I'm gonna watch Instagram, or I'm gonna watch YouTube, or whatever, football, whatever it is.
When
And
you don't
like
have a purpose, I think it's a purpose.
I think it's not laziness. I think it's shutdown. It's like you
100%.
because
100%
because you
agree.
because once the things that everyone told you to aim at run out and don't fulfill you in that way, you just turn it off and you just
Hmm.
start like distracting yourself. I got a buddy, man, right now. He's 43, I think, and not satisfied with his life, which is fine. And I'm telling you, right, outside looking in, he's got a good life. I mean, it's like there's 7 billion people that would trade for his life in the United States of America right now. I guarantee it. And which no judgment. I mean, everyone's got to enjoy their life the way it is. But like it's just the way he talks is like, well, this is it. Well, I've messed up. Well, I've gotten to this position and I've gotten this and I've gotten that. And it's just like, that's it. This is done. And it's not that he's a lazy dude who works his butt off. It's not that he doesn't want what's best for, want more for his family, but he's just directionless. You know what I'm saying? And he's caught up in like all these old stories, like the traumas and things that we talk about like all the
Oh,
time.
for
Like,
himself, like his own traumas.
well, I don't believe in trauma. You want to get controversial here?
Dude, I don't
Like,
either.
okay, so here, let me unpack this for someone yells
Yeah.
at me. Okay, so like, I definitely witness that we have all had things that have happened to us that we let's call them traumatic. And there's a spectrum there. Like your parents being mean and beating the hell out of you is different than someone being sexually abused, is different than you didn't have enough
There's
food and
different degrees.
water.
Yeah.
There are all kind of degrees, and everyone's story matters to them. And it's just like in America. We bitch about lines being too long at the grocery store when there's a dude in the African plains looking for something to eat. So it's all relative too. But like I started studying this. There's an amazing book. I've been recommending this to everybody. Every man should read the book, The Courage to Be Disliked, because it's based on the philosophy and psychology of a guy named Alfred Adler, who was kind of a peer to Freud and Carl Jung and all those guys. And his concept was what we call trauma is basically three things. All right. Number one, it's an event in your life. The event did happen. Your reality is real. Now, second thing is though, here's where the problems start. Why I'm not a big believer in trauma hunting anymore. I've been through that journey myself. Two is memory is not accurate. Like like what did I say 3 minutes ago? Tell me in this sentence. Do you remember the exact sentence I said 3 minutes ago?
Not at all.
Not at all. But we expect that we remember what happened 30
Exactly.
years ago
100%.
when the teacher took us out in the hall and paddled us. Come on now,
Yes.
let's go now.
Especially emotions and all that sort of stuff and
Now we
anger.
now we do that's what we do have. Like that's the third component is the whatever the trigger, the similar thing that's happening in our life. That emotion's real, and in that moment, like I'll tell you one of my deep traumas, like that I've explored and unpacked this way. I had a teacher. I'm ADHD, like diagnosed, like wild. You've been around me, you know this. And I had a teacher in second grade that would beat me every morning, like to the point she did it preemptively to punish me first, to make me afraid to misbehave. She didn't even wait for me to. It's like Minority Report. I was just getting put in jail before it even happened. And like, as she would just say, Shane, come with me. She would go out and she would paddle me. This is the 80s, man. They used to beat us to death. And the reason it stopped is because when I was taking a bath one night, my butt was just completely bruised. I have a picture of the bruise. So I do know that something like this happened, right? But one of the things that, I unpacked later on in life was like this created a distrust for authority and women in my life, right? So there was something that happened. I have a lot of the components, but I don't remember it. In my mind, it was torture city, medieval, take me out, beat me to death. it was probably her paddling me 2 or 3 times, and one time it bruised my butt. I don't know exactly the real story because my memory is maybe 10 to 20% accurate back to this point, but the feeling is there,
Mhm.
and then the story is there. I made up that kid, that version created a story that women are unsafe, authority should be rebelled against because they're going to, no matter what you do, they're going to hurt you anyway. So why listen to them? And it caused that story stayed with me for 30 more years before I was able to change the story, like go back and change that story. But I think dudes get caught up with, this is exactly how my life is. All these bad things in my past are causing all my problems now. And they become their own victim, and everybody else becomes the villain. And
Well, you're
that
100.
looks like laziness. You know what
Well,
I'm saying?
I'm 100% behind you, and I agree. And there's a difference between something that's traumatic that happens, like you said, and something that you're saying, this is a trauma that I'm dragging with me forever and ever and letting that woman beat me over and over again because I'm
Yeah,
just letting it.
this is my destiny, is what it
Exactly.
becomes. I am
Exactly.
destined to feel this way forever because this is how I respond to the world,
If you
basically.
remember just a little bit ago, I said that all the things that I went through in my life to now has made me who I am today, and it's made me stronger. I love the statement that whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. If you
Yeah,
live in it, oh, I'm just beat down, I'm a beat puppy, that's all you'll ever be. When you start realizing, no, you're so much stronger than that. You're not like that doesn't define you. This what traumatic event, whatever it might be traumatic to you, might be cakewalk for somebody else. So
yeah. I
it's
like to say that one man's trauma is another man's fire. You know what I'm saying?
exactly
Yeah, yeah. And
100%
if
is
and if
how you
that
perceive
person
it.
can take that same event, like a divorce is the most common one. Like if one person, your parents get divorced, and it crushes your relationships. You can never have a good spouse. You can never do anything. You have all these problems. You keep blaming that. That's fine. But for another person, the divorce was, hey, it was worse when they were together. Now they're at least getting along. And now they're what? Like they look at it from a different angle. And you can kind of like it's never too late to have a good childhood. You can kind of re-edit things in the past. One way I've done this is, our Dan Miller,
Yeah.
who passed
Yep.
away,
Yep.
not too long ago. Great man, the greatest of great men. He wrote a book called 48 Days to Work You Love. But Dan said something I'll never forget him saying this, is that everything in life, whether we perceive it as good or bad, has challenges, benefits, and possibilities. And when I look back, even like at a traumatic event that has caused that freeze, overwhelm, laziness, this is as good as it's going to get in my life. When I look back at that now, I'm like, dang, I'm glad she made me a freaking rebel. I'm glad that I always bucked up against
Look where
authority.
you are now.
Because that is exactly my story. My story is always challenging and going to the next level and being the underdog and like all those things. But
I
guy
personally
got
love,
so much trouble looking back at that stuff, dude.
I'm 100% behind you. And I love being the underdog. I love being the underdog. I love having
Where's that
people
come
say I
from?
can't do it.
Where do you think that comes from? Like what? Like have you always been that way? Like did anything? What do you think that
It's,
comes from?
I have no idea where it come from. And I don't care to like, oh, let's unpack where, like at what point. I don't
No, no,
care.
no, no.
I,
I love that mentality of I don't care where it is. This is how I am, and I got to choose if I want to keep
well,
going
let
this
me,
way.
I'm sorry. I wasn't saying that you wanted me to do that. I'm just saying that I just know it's something for in me made me love to be the underdog. And what it comes down to is I love it when somebody says, I don't think you can do that. I'm like, you don't know me because I will do it. And there's a
Yeah,
saying, a friend of mine, he said, hey, when there's no way through, like the door's closed, I go in through the window. He's a little smaller guy, and so he's like, just climb through the window. I'm like, if that door is closed, this is how I am. I'm busting through the wall. Like I'm just
yeah,
making it way because that's what I do. And I realize that that's in me is if I'm the underdog or if somebody looks at me, and this kind of, you're a football player too. And so when I was playing football, I played football in college. I played for a D1 school called Fresno State, and I'm like 5'9", not very big. In fact, I played offensive line, grew up in high school, went and walked on at Fresno State, and I didn't mind that they even put me at like 5'7". I was like, I don't
yeah.
mind. I'll show you how big I am by how I play. And I don't know where that came from. And then now anybody ever says, I don't know if you could do it. I'm like, eh, you, and I love this. There's a song, fun song that says, anything you can do, I can do better. And it's
Yeah.
just me not being arrogant. It's just me knowing I'm going to do my absolute best. I'm not going to let anything stop me.
Yeah, the underdog thing is weird though, because another thing, our superpowers can be our curses too. This is a real thing that was happening with
Well,
me in
that's
my
why we have
life, dude.
wives. Our wives help us to know.
Oh, you need somebody to hit the brakes every once in a while, guys.
Exactly.
You need someone to be like, no, I don't think you can do that. Slow down, dude.
100%. And
Right?
usually
Yeah.
they're usually right.
Yeah. Men left to their own devices is not always a good thing. Where I'm not, yeah, for sure. But like I've found multiple occasions in relationships and in businesses, though, where when I was succeeding at the highest possible level and things got systemized and easy, I wasn't the underdog anymore. And I found I know of at least two things where I burnt the whole thing down to become the underdog once again. That's what's so crazy about these ways that we live, and why, like you said earlier, how me and you are today and however we are is different than 7 years ago, 14 years ago. We'll be different in 7 years. We could have this conversation in 5 years and be talking about totally different things. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But like, I think great men, one, like confidently can say what they believe right now. But then also the greatness comes in the fact that this is how I am now. And I'm also open, like, to change. I'm also
Well,
open to
the
like do
opposite
some
is
new things.
the opposite is arrogance. It's
Yeah.
arrogance, and you think you're better than everybody else. You're prideful, and when you get down that route, nobody likes you. Trust me. If you don't have many friends, or if you start like, man, this person doesn't like me, or that people, start thinking about maybe there's something about you. Don't worry about the other person. How can we change ourselves? And when you start thinking, I'm right, and I will always be right, and I'm not open to change, then that's arrogance. And with arrogance comes a fall.
Yeah.
Pride comes before a fall. It's easy to
How did
see
you grow
that.
up? Did you grow up in what denomination did you grow up in church? What did
I
you grow
actually
up
didn't
as?
grow up in church. I found
Okay.
church later on in life, but no, I
Interesting.
my normal
Let's talk
family,
about this.
American family. What's
Let's
that?
talk about this. Let's talk about this. Okay, let's just get fun here. All right. So I grew up in the Southern Baptist Church. Okay. So I was Southern Baptist growing up, deep South, you know, that's how I grew up. Definitely, Jesus follower. And I look at my journey with faith, and I do notice that most great men have a faith in a higher power, right? And we can split hairs on what that is. I've noticed that in my journey, starting in the church, growing through the church, literally being a traveling evangelist who talked to almost 200,000 people over a 4 year period, right? Like, like at live events. I was sitting there one day, and when we all have, doubts, and my favorite Bible verse is actually the guy that went up to Jesus and said, "Help me overcome my disbelief." Right? That's my favorite Bible verse
Fantastic.
ever. And it's funny how like I've deconstructed from a lot of the dogmas that I was given growing up, because I was sitting in church one day. I have an amazing pastor at the church we go to here, and he was talking about something that is controversial in the church period, which is young Earth creationism or whatever, right? Evolution. That's fine. That's whatever. And I was sitting there and I was listening to him talk about this, and he was a staunch young Earth creationist, and I am not. I do not believe that makes any sense. And I was looking around, and dude, I noticed that one guy was playing on his phone. This other dude was asleep. This other dude was nodding his head in agreement. And I was sitting there thinking, like, I'm sitting in a church full of a bunch of people that believe totally different things. Like you think you believe there's something that makes you a Christian or a Buddhist or whatever it is, but every single like human being evolves in this area, right? Back and forth from dogma, back and forth from faith. But I do think that in your pursuit of greatness, there is an elite value that we need to all place on aiming up in what we would call some kind of like faith in something bigger than you, an agreement that we don't know was happening. There's a mystery to all this. How did faith become a part of your great man list? Like I have the background in it, and then I'm evolved to the place I am now, which I have the best relationship with God I've probably ever had in my entire life at this moment. You know what I'm saying? But like, how did you do that? Like, how did that come about? And then how did you immediately drop this on the top of that list of what it means to be great on your own
I
terms?
would say instead of dropping on top, honestly, it's the foundation. So when I was 14 or 15, I went to a church camp and grew up like a normal American, like not ever going to church. I wouldn't say a pagan, but like just a non secular or a secular person, just non
Your
faith
parents
based.
didn't go, so you didn't go, kind of
Correct.
deal,
Yeah.
maybe.
And so I had no clue. So I went to a 14 years, that's like 30 plus years ago now, and then found God. I started reading the Bible every single day. And then I didn't even think about like this was at 14 years old. So I'm blessed it wasn't like 24, 34, 44 and finding this stuff. And so for me, it became the foundation of everything that I've ever done
Like
because
an
I didn't
operating
really start.
system? Is that what you're saying? Like some kind of operating system to play off of, or what do you mean
It's
by
the
that?
foundation that I want to be more like Jesus, who
Okay.
served people. And that was how I was going after, or like what I was going after. And then I realized it was funny, even though I've been a Christ follower for 30 plus years, and I've read the Bible literally book to book or cover to cover dozens of times, read it to my kids dozens of times. I've realized my absolute favorite verse always sticks in my head is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I
So
don't know
sums the law of the prophets.
it, exactly. It's so that's because every single time something happens to me, I'm like, well, how would I want somebody to react or do? And that's how it, and so it always started. And I believe at the very beginning, when I started, like 14 years old, when I started reading the Bible, I started realizing that was number one was do unto others as you have to do unto you. The second one goes into my talk about arrogance and pride. Was it said that, well, number one, do unto others. So I should look at other people and take care of other people. The second one was, it was with humility, God's grace comes. But when you have
Mm.
pride, God opposes the proud. So God gives grace to the humble, but opposes the proud. And when I read that, I was in high school, getting into college. I read that. I was like, I don't even know what pride is. I don't even know what humility is. And then I started researching, like, number one, I don't want God opposing me. Because if the Bible says God opposes the proud, I'm like, I got to figure out what it is to be prideful. And then I realized how prideful I was. Oh my goodness. I was like the most prideful person I could ever see because I started realizing. And let me ask you this.
Okay.
I'll give you two statements, and I want you to tell me this is where I learned about pride. You tell me which one's the prideful statement. A man thinks highly of himself. That's one. A man thinks highly of himself. The other statement is a man thinks lowly of themselves. Which one is the prideful statement? A man thinks highly of himself, and a man thinks lowly of himself.
Well, my red flags are going up that I'm going to pick wrong. But like, you know, I mean, I think the way most people would say that is a man that thinks highly of himself. Like if we're talking about like I'm better than people or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Yeah. But
Arrogance. Yeah.
I feel like you're about to kick my stool out from under me.
So you're partly right. Let me give you
Mm.
the if you think about if I had a whiteboard, which I have one there, I'm not going to write it down, but just think in your mind, a man thinks highly of himself, and write that on your mind. You got that. Then you write down your mind, a man thinks lowly of himself. There's one word in each sentence that separates the two, highly and lowly. Rip those out. A man thinks of himself.
Mm.
The top one. The bottom one, a man thinks of himself. If you're thinking of yourself instead of thinking of other people, that's where pride is when you're thinking of like, how do
Mm.
I get this out of this person? How do I get like this interview I'm having with Shane? How do I get anything out of it? Or if I'm meeting this one person, or if you're thinking of how you can gain, if you're thinking about yourself, you're missing the point. The point
Yeah.
is not thinking less of yourself. Like you don't want to put yourself down. Oh yeah, no, I'm not that good at this. Meaning you're talking to
Thinking about
somebody like
yourself is a trap.
a
It's a
hundred
big,
percent
it is a huge trap, dude.
because you're trying to get people to look at you and say, "Oh, you're not that bad." Oh, and
Yeah.
it's
It's an
building yourself up.
insecurity on both sides.
Yes,
Victimhood and arrogance is a problem on both
yes. And
sides.
if you were to ask me, and I know you didn't ask me, but if you were to ask me something like this, Dustin, what do you think of yourself? I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
I really,
Totally,
I
man.
don't think about myself because I try to think about other people. How do I serve other people? How do I take care of other people?
That book I was talking about, it's interesting as you're thinking of like you know, everyone wants meaning. People don't realize that you choose your meaning, I don't think. And like people are looking for their purpose. I hate that so bad. Like you're gonna find it under a rock. Like that you choose your purpose and you got to try
Mhm.
some things on to see how they're good. But what he talks about, you know, when people get lost like that is the problem with the trauma hunting stuff is that you're constantly just thinking about yourself and trying to figure out what happened and there's no amount of clues you can ever find in your memory to piece it together. And then what most people are actually looking for is that looking outward. It's how can I when you're useful to your family or to your community, it's harder to be anxious and depressed when you feel like you're useful.
Well,
And
you're
like
not
when
thinking about yourself.
you're thinking about yourself. Exactly. You're not thinking about yourself. You're
You're not
thinking
thinking
about
about
how
yourself.
I can use my skills and talents and gifts to help other people. And then when you go out and you have community belonging, whether it's in an industry or in a, cigar club or whatever it is, then again, you're thinking about other people and you're thinking about yourself. And I think that's where, and again, I've kind of stepped out of all this denominationalism.
Oh, so same here. I'm totally.
I don't play dogma. Like, I had a deep, deep journey spiritually on like biblical inerrancy and things like that. And like, there's some things that I've laid down in my walk. You know what I'm saying? But I do think that there is, I think by orienting up first, you ought, like, if you're automatically like looking outwards and like God or whatever it is that you put on that top place in your list, it does seem to pull you out of yourself to
100%.
where you can even like see other people. Like, I was walking, I got 40 acres out here on my backyard, and I was walking around one day, dude, and you see my lake like back there. So I'm walking around the lake, I'm walking with my dogs, and I caught myself, Dustin, looking right in front of my feet. And what I was looking for was crap. I was looking for dog crap. I was looking for goose crap. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But I stopped for a second. I looked over, and this big, we have these things in Kentucky called blue herons. They're these huge crane looking birds, right? And all of a sudden, I caught out of the corner of my eye this huge heron majestically flying over my lake and landed on the other side, and then I looked up at the hill, and there was just all this birds and everything going on. And I was like, I was looking down. I was so worried about my foot getting in crap, which honestly, you're going to rinse it off your shoe. This is not a big deal. But I was missing everything else. And I think that like spiritual practice and faith, I think that's what it does for you. It like makes you look up, and you're like, oh, wait, I have a family. I have responsibilities. I have people out there that could really use my wisdom and experience. And now I can look like at other people. Like, that's kind of where faith has like landed, like, for me. You know what I'm saying?
We can definitely go down the route of talking about faith, and like I've changed a ton in my, even though I'm a Christ, still 100% Christ follower, read the Bible every day.
I
multiple times
like
a day.
that term better than Christian, because I think Christian, what it became, I don't think was what that guy had in mind.
You're 100%
You know?
right. Look, so
Dude.
we could, so we could definitely tackle that, because I have a lot to say on that. Basically, I'm grown so much that I think now churches are now just on the West, especially, are businesses now, and it's not looking
Totally
good.
businesses.
So,
Totally
but let me,
businesses.
I gotta share this with you. So, getting to the idea that we got to stop thinking about ourselves so much and start thinking about other people. There's a quote by Zig
As a
Ziglar.
pursuit
You've
of
heard it.
greatness. As a pursuit of greatness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Zig Ziglar says, you can have everything you want in life if you just help enough other people
Get
what they want. And there's two words that come to mind: accomplishment and fulfillment. Those are two totally different things. And let me explain how that feels. So when I bought my first rental property, I think I made $300-400 a month in cash flow every month. I didn't do anything. My property worked, and I got the check, which was amazing. But it felt like it was an accomplishment. Then I felt like I needed more. I needed more accomplishments. Eventually, I had 30 plus properties. And then I quit my job. That was another great accomplishment, but I did not feel fulfilled. I felt like I needed more accomplishments. Here's where I felt fulfilled. When I helped my first student ever to buy their first property, it was not my accomplishment because they did all the work. I just helped them along the way. And then they did that. I felt fulfilled because I helped another human being get what they most wanted in life. And that goes back to the Zig Ziglar quote. You got to help as many people as you can. When you do that, you're going to be blessed as well. But I feel so much more. This is why I strive now. My goal is to help 1 million people to invest in real estate. It's because I feel fulfilled.
Which is possible because of your membership.
Yes, full circle.
That's called a callback right there.
Well, I'll tell you this. You're 100% right. And you were there when I shared this, that my conference would not be around. I know it would not be around. This many people that I've helped would not be around unless you and I had met, because I was honestly going to give up master passive income coaching because it was boring. I didn't talk to people. I didn't have people. But because of you, now I've helped thousands of people. Now my goal is to help 1 million people.
Amazing, baby. Ripples, baby. That's what it's all about.
Exactly. But
You know
that's
what I'm
the thing
saying?
is accomplishment. Accomplishments are great. You need accomplishments in your life. You need that. But then getting fulfilled is when you serve and help other people. And then the
I,
great thing is when you do that, you benefit so much more than you ever thought you could, because now they're getting what they want and then you get what you want.
I think that I've never thought about it that way, but like this kind of like moment when we had that huge, we had like 4 events that month. They were all successful. Like it was just really, really a great month. Like when you look at it on paper. But it did just it was like, okay, fine, I did it. I accomplished it. Now I'm mad because it wasn't the next accomplishment. You know what I'm saying? And I told my mastermind this recently, and I've actually just putting this together. Like we were talking about goals at the beginning of the year, and for the first time, and as long as I can remember, dude, I set the goal. I want to make less money. I know that's not what you normally say, right? But here's what it was. I'm pretty convinced now, like not being arrogant. If I want to do something, I'm pretty confident at this point that it's possible and I can probably make it happen, because it's really all just hire the right people, do the right things, and you're going to probably get there. You know what I'm saying? If you got a brain. And like when I looked at that, and the reason it's kind of evolved into this thing, when I set the achievement goal of making X dollars, then all the things under it had to fall in place to do that. And you know what those are. But by just changing a little framework in my brain to what if I did this? Well, what would that look like? You know what it looks like? It looks like me being more involved with my students. It looks like me being more involved in this great men community. It looks like me being at the events, that the retreats that we're going to host, instead of sending someone out to do all of those things. And it's like, can we scale? Sure, if that's the goal. And right, but like, are you, but I didn't feel like I was in the boat anymore with my
Mhm.
students. And that wasn't cool, man. It erased that meaning part of the accomplishments were great, but I wasn't serving the way I wanted to, like, be able to serve, because I set the wrong goal. And that's so I've never even thought about that before. That's the problem, is when you're accomplishment based as a good man, there's always another accomplishment. And if you don't know what it is, you're going to get it from somebody else. Then you're going to go do it, and it's going to be meaningless.
I had the same thing. So after I quit my job, I said, I need a goal, like just in general, because my first goal was to quit my job. Once I got
Right.
accomplished that, I need a new goal. So I created this goal. And it wasn't because I'm driven by money. It's just because I need a quantitative goal, something I can aspire and hit and measure. And so I made it where I wanted to make $1 million in profit in all my businesses every year, just because I was like, hey, that's what you're supposed to do, right?
It's a
Well, I
number.
made,
Pick it.
yeah,
Yeah.
for the entire year, it was a deterrent. In fact, I'm not driven by money at all. I still live in a relatively small house. We have plenty of money, but it's like I'm not driven by money or things. And so I realized that goal was actually a hindrance to what I could accomplish. Then I changed it. Instead of $1 million in my life, the rest of my life, I want to help 1 million people to invest in real estate. That's my new goal, because I realized that the goal was wrong. It was an
Yeah.
accomplishment based goal, and I didn't need those anymore. I was totally fine. I could just play golf and go to the gym all day. I don't need to do this,
Which
but I
is
needed
also
something to get me out
terrible
of bed.
for, that is not the dream, by the way, guys.
No, it's
I
not.
don't
No, it's so
see
boring.
it only feels like the dream when you are in a position where your work doesn't matter. You're not
Yes.
feeling like that's when that's like you start fantasizing about, gosh, it'd be great to win the lottery. It'd be great to go on vacation and just sit on the back porch all day. And no, I did the passive income work 4-hour work week thing for
Same
about
here.
5 years,
It's
and it
boring.
was the most boring, the most meaningless, the dumbest life I could ever possibly have even had. You know what I'm saying? Do you
I
think
would
this
go to
is
the
like,
movies. I play golf. I would go to the gym. Like I would do everything for me. But again, you're just self-centered. Like it's all about me. And then now I don't even take vacations. Vacations come up. I'm like, I don't really want to go because I have too many things to do serving people. And I get so much more fulfillment when you're 100% right, when you're relegated to working a job and you're doing something for somebody else, and you're all of a sudden realizing, well, shoot, I can't go to the gym, I can't play golf, then that's what you fantasize about. You think that's going to fulfill you. But when you're done, if you work your life for 70 years and then you retire, like, okay, now I'm going to play as much golf as I can, then I get it. I
Yeah, well,
totally
that's cool,
get it.
man. That's cool.
But if you're blessed to be able to retire earlier, let's say 45, 55, maybe even 35, you never
You're
know.
still gonna have to find something to serve. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Or you're
Because
gonna
then you
waste
feel
away.
fulfilled. Yes.
It's interesting though, like I've not heard this much of your story before, as when like we've podcasted before, but like I'm kind of noticing something with the conversations I've been having lately with dudes. You know, like you ever heard that question, like, if you could go back and tell yourself at 20 everything you know now, and this is like really what a great life like kind of looks like. We hear that story all the time, but like, and I think about this with my kids too, about what wisdom I actually want to share with them now, because I'm not sure if it's possible to get to a place of peace and greatness without going and trying on those things that everyone tells you that don't work, because you don't know if it's going to bring meaning to your life or not until you actually like do it. And like, I don't think now, even after a lot of different things that have happened to me in the last 10 years, like, I don't think if I could go back and tell myself something, I would just be like, just do whatever you think is best in the moment, because you have to kind of go through this process. There wouldn't be a cliche of a midlife crisis if this isn't what was supposed to happen. If this is how people go like through life. And like, it seems like to me, from most guys I talk to in a position of success crossing into greatness in our 40s and 50s, it seems like it's kind of necessary, man. It's almost like those challenges, those tests, those temptations of $1 million goals and all those things. Like, you can't tell a 20-year-old that making $1 million is not the end all be all in life. You just can't do it. You got to go do it. And you're going to have a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of cool things that come with that. First class going to Mexico is a good time. You know what I'm saying? But like, at the same time, like, I think you have to get to a point in life, whatever age that is, where you're like, oh, I missed it. I really missed it. I created something cool, but I think I missed it. Would you
And
change anything about your journey? Would you change
I,
anything?
no, personally, no, I would not. And obviously, when you look back perspective wise, hindsight's always 2020. I'm looking at all the things I went through, and I want to touch on the idea of you wanting less money or like making less money, which is so amazing because I did basically the same thing back when I first got married. So before I get to when I first got married, because I want to touch on that, but to round out that thought, that when you are focusing on serving other people and getting fulfillment as opposed to accomplishment, like the $1 million, like I've got a lot more than that, and it doesn't make me feel any better. It just another weight in the end. I mean, more money, more problems. I mean, we have this songs
Totally.
written about that,
All
and
money
so
must be managed. That means you got to hire people to manage it. It's
I
stupid. It's
know, I
too many
know.
people to do it, dude.
So in the end, what I realize is as I focus on others, my life gets better. But you're 100% right. Money is not the end, and making less money, that could be also a fantastic thing. Before I get to what I was doing with my wife when we first got married, it's you're going to love this. I personally believe that every single thing that happens has happened to me, even bullies. Like I'm like even thinking, let's bring bullies back. Like bullies made me so much stronger.
Totally. You need some resistance growing up, man.
Absolutely. And then
Yeah,
you
man.
punch the bully in the mouth and you become best friends. I mean, it's just like,
Totally,
it's just,
dude. 100%, man. I was at Walmart with Isaac the other day, right? And this guy, buddy of mine named Danny, goes, "Hey, what's up, Shane?" I was like, "What's up, dude? Haven't seen you forever." Okay. And like, we talked for a minute, and he goes, "Who's that guy?" And I said, "That dude punched me in the face in fifth grade. The first time I'd ever been punched in the face was in fifth grade on the thing." And I bumped into this guy on the playground. That dude turned around and jacked my jaw, dude. I mean, I'm talking like I wasn't expecting it. I didn't know it was coming. But I didn't go down, and I didn't get like knocked out. And like I'm standing in the playground with all these people like staring at me. It was funny. My girlfriend saw it happen and broke up with me like the same day, because she just saw me get jacked.
insult to injury. Dang.
Insult to injury, dude. It was a bad day, man. And like so I looked at this guy, and I turned around, and I stood up to him, and I took the best shot a kid can give a kid, dude. And I looked him right in the eye, and I didn't swing back. I froze, but I just looked at him, and he was just like, dang. And he like, because I took the punch. And I was talking to Isaac about this, and I was like, that could have been, I could have looked at that and been like, oh, I got bullied. My girlfriend broke up with me. But the thing that I take from that story was, damn, I can take a punch.
Absolutely.
I can if I can take a punch like that, then I started fighting. I actually became this kid that got in fights like all the time at school because I was like, well, I can take the punch. Maybe I can. Let me see how hard I can hit. Right. So it's just that perspective on those stories. All right, back to you, dude. I've never told that story anywhere before.
I love it.
So funny.
And it gets me also that, man, I love chatting with you and all of our other friends that we're just so close with. These are guys because so many things
you
that
throw it out and you figure it out. We're all trying. Nobody knows what they're doing. None of us.
So with my wife, when I first got married, I didn't tell her I was doing this. So growing up, after I became a Christ follower, I felt like my role in this world that I felt the Lord was blessing me to do is to be able to eventually make a lot of money and influence a lot of people, pointing them to God. Not necessarily, I mean, money's a means to an end. And so everything at my conferences, I share the gospel every single time. That's just how I am because I'm an evangelist at heart, because I want people to know in the end, you're going to die. Think about that. It might not be how I like, don't take what I'm saying. I'm just sharing with you these ideas. So anyways, being a Christ follower, I share with my wife after the fact, but I always figured that I'd have money and I wanted to be a good steward of the things that God's blessed me with. Because as I read the Bible, these are all God's things. I'm just a steward of it. And I wanted to be a good steward. So here's what I did. Before we got married and I started praying, and we didn't have businesses. I was still an employee. She was at home. I prayed for financial hard times. I prayed saying, Lord, bless me to have financial hard times because I want to be a good steward. Because I know if you gave me $1 million right now, I would probably blow it. I would do wrong things with it, or I'd go buy a Ferrari. I would not know how to be a good steward of it.
I've done that too.
What?
Yes. Yeah. Totally.
Yes.
I've not prayed about having hard times. I've created them because I bought too much shit.
Oh no, you've done that. Got it.
I went the other way, dude. I was like, yo, let's spend everything and start over. I did that for a couple years, but I didn't know what I was doing. I never have any money. Nobody ever taught me this crap.
So the amazing thing happened was went into business. It was hard. It was right when the crash happened. Like the business started 1-2 years of great business. And then all of a sudden the crash in 2008. And then that took down our business. And it was so financially hard for an entire, maybe year and a half until we sold the business, got out from under it. Eventually I got out from under it. And then looking back, I grew so much financially in realizing money's not the end in itself. It's just a means to an end.
So losing just like it will teach you that. It will teach you can survive. When you having to rebuild is a way better lesson than getting it and keeping it, because then it falls back to, well, wait a minute, I'm still Dustin. I'm still Shane. I can go do these things. Yes. I can rebuild it. But like a buddy of mine, one of my business partners in the past, we were looking at partnering with this guy. And dude was a genius, wonder kid, like millions, like doing he's one of these guys that would be on social media. You know what I'm saying? And my buddy said something I'll never forget. He's like, I don't want to work with this guy. I said, why not? He goes, because he's never been bankrupt. And I don't know how he will respond when we get into the challenges of what we're building here. And I was like, dang, dude, but that's kind of touching on what you're saying. It's like,
interesting.
When you've been through the 2008 financial collapse in real estate, I always, on stage, one of the stories I always tell is my first year as a head coach in high school football, I went 0-10 and got running clocked 8 times in a row. And 0-10, 60-0, 8 games in a row before we stopped the bleeding. And I look back at that now with so much gratitude, man.
Absolutely.
Because if you've been 0-10 and ran out of town and everyone in your community hates your guts on Friday nights, like that is the ultimate in problems. You know what I'm saying? In your career. And you think
all these things make you stronger.
But it's made me stronger. Like I always tell the crowd when I tell that story, because if I'm in a crowd like a seminar of like 300 people, I'll be like, guys, I've been 0-10. I've been ran down in the newspaper. I've been ran out of town. Nothing you do can hurt me over the next 3 days. But it's the same thing with your thing. Like when you had the challenge and you learned that you could rise from it, I think that is a way more seed for greatness, because all great men had that moment like you had. I mean,
And
you can't read a story where they didn't have a moment like that.
correct. And what's also pretty amazing too is that every single situation you can have different perspectives or feelings about it or how you take that. It could be, and I like Jocko Willink. There's a quote that, or like something he says, which is really, really impactful. He says, no matter what happens, it could be the worst thing in the world in your eyes or the best thing in the world, the answer should be good.
Yeah.
Meaning, oh, hey,
I love
something
that quote.
like you just
Good.
ruined your car. Well, good.
Get a new
We
one.
don't know if it's going to be bad right now. I mean, yeah, it's
Yes,
a bummer, but what else is going to come out of that? Or
totally.
like something like you just lost your job. Good. What else is going to come? Like it's instead of dwelling on the past, saying I'm trauma, like I have trauma. I'm just constantly. I could have lived in that being laid off from my job and then never getting to where I am now because I'm trauma. There's trauma in my life. No, 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 no.
The
That
world hurt me.
100%. And
Yeah,
like
man.
for me, it's like, okay, now I have the opportunity now to look at this, whatever happens in my life, as this is an opportunity in my life. Getting
Mm,
laid off, oh my, because that sparked in me, I need to make sure this never happens to me again. Now I've
yeah.
got 30 plus single family homes. I got 1,000 apartment units. We invest in hotels and I have launched businesses. I have conferences, all that sort of stuff because of getting laid off. And
Yeah,
if I would have hung
and
my
you never,
head,
and you know what's funny is you like I've known you for a long time now, and I never hear you talking about those things, the thousand apartments, the things like that. I mean, of course, for your brand, you're going to have to sell stuff, but like when I talk to great men, I'm talking guys like Dan Miller, guys like an Aaron Walker, if you know Aaron Walker, guys like you name it, whoever we see as really really good role models for this. Nobody talks about that stuff. Like when I talk about my story, the worst thing that's ever happened to me is I found out my son was being abused at a daycare center. He was being locked in a bathroom for hours at a time. That moment awakened a fire in me that could not have been inspired or motivated or desired. And when I look back in 2022, when I was laying in a hospital bed, 280 pounds, overweight, about to die, I went to sleep one night and I said, I knew I wasn't going to wake up. And when the next morning I opened my eyes and I saw the sunrise, I thought, wow, I went on a health journey over the last 5 years. I am my biological age is like 33. I am jacked. I would kick my 20-year-old's butt right now. You know what I'm saying? But like that's the moment where you had a choice to be great or you had a choice to be good and just sit down on the couch and take the fatness or whatever it was. And
you always have the choice.
you always have a choice, man, to react to whatever
Whatever
happens like in front
circumstance
of you.
comes your way, if you view it as this is an opportunity to get stronger, to get better, or I don't even know what's coming, but I know this is going to be better, it's always going to work out for you because when you have that, and Bruce Lee said this back in, I don't know what, 60s or so. He says, when you have a negative mental attitude, negative self-talk, you have that negative perspective, bad things are going to happen because it's not that well, he doesn't say this, but I'm just adding in.
You're going to start looking for the negative.
You're
is
going to
what
look
you're
for the
gonna do.
negatives,
And you're going to
100%.
find it every time.
And when
Yep.
you look for the positives, totally different story. And we could touch in a little bit on this too. So my wife and I, we've counseled a lot of married couples. I mean, marriage counseling. One of my favorite things to do with them, because when you come to marriage counseling, there's problems, there's issues, there's things that come up. And I say,
Married.
okay, now we're at the point where I want you both to get out a piece of paper and separate so you can't see each other what you're writing. This is your time. Now, men start rubbing their hands together like this is exciting. This is your time to write down every single thing that annoys you or makes you mad about your spouse. They're not going to see it. They're not going to see it. Write it all down. And they're all like, yes, both spouses are like that. They start writing down. And I see three, like the first three come out really, really fast. And then like the fourth one, they have to kind of think. And then they write the fourth
totally,
one down.
dude.
And maybe by the fifth one, they're like, they have to force it out. But then
Is
I
that
say,
it?
okay, now you're done. Don't let your spouse see it. Now get a new piece of paper out. And I want you to start writing all of the good things about your spouse, what they do right, what they do well, what you're appreciative. And the list just keeps on going because
Totally.
there's so many things we don't even look at because we look at it or look at the poop that we're about to step in or try to not find.
Yep.
But here's the thing, what I do after that. So
And by the way, there was only one instance of poop in 40 acres I was walking through. So I was really looking at the wrong. I was looking for the negative, and I found it, but all the positive just got walked by. So yeah, man.
So here's what I do. I say, okay, now you both have both of your lists that you're looking at for your spouse. Look at both of them. You know, you both have, like, your spouse has a negative list about you, but here's what you're going to do. You're focusing only on the negatives. I want you, this is a physical act of what you're going to be doing in your mind. Take that piece of paper that has the negatives, crumble it up, stand up, walk over to the garbage can, and throw it away.
Yeah,
You
totally.
are now going to choose to not let those things bother you. You're now going to choose that you're going to find that I don't even realize that she's doing those things or he's doing those things anymore. You're going to only focus on the positive things. And when you do that, and I did
Doesn't
the
mean the
same
negative.
thing.
It doesn't mean the negatives aren't there.
Correct.
It's just like it is true that your brain will find what you're looking for. It's why some guys will have a whole day of work and they'll get home and go, I didn't do anything today. But if you really looked, you were there 8 hours doing everything in your power to make that thing go. But then one client got pissed off, and that was what you were looking for. So you totally like found it. I'm not one of these guys too that's like sunshine and rainbows all the time. I mean, there's definitely, you got to take shit serious too. But like, I think that one thing that men are not equipped to do, and I've learned how to do over the last 6 years of a lot of deep inner work, therapy, mentors, everything, is like, I think what that really touches on is that men don't have the vocabulary or the skill set to manage their emotions. I think this is the biggest problem I see with guys I coach or people I talk to. We're just not taught that, man, or just not taught to do it. I mean, if you played football, you were just told to bleed, and like that's just the way it is, and like it doesn't even matter, right? Is it pain or an injury? Well, kind of both, coach. And
Exactly.
like,
Good question.
you know what I'm saying? But like
Yep.
I think that like understanding and feeling my emotions has helped me to do what you're saying. Because I have ADHD. One of the problems with ADHD is I have guilt shame spirals because I have time blindness. I'll miss an appointment. I won't do something I'm supposed to do. And I go into this like guilt shame spiral and I start looking for all the bad things in my life. But like the skill of looking for the positive is a skill just like snatch or power clean or deadlift or whatever pickup you do to pick up heavy things. If you choose to start that, it's going to suck at first. You're going to be terrible at it, but like that's something we should all do in the beginning of the day is what am I looking for today, man? Like if I can find gratitude and find something good in my spouse or my kids or my business, I'll find it and I'll get to double down like on that.
There's one word you said that is key is choose. You
Mhm.
can choose how you react to something, negative
Yeah.
or positively. And it might be hard to choose the good thing, the positive way, but when
And
you
it's got
do
to
that,
practice. You got to practice it. It's got to be something
100%.
you rep if you're going to get it right.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Good stuff.
But yeah, so with, like thinking about the emotions, and I always joke with my wife, so she has all the emotions. I've got a handful: hungry, angry, horny, tired. That's probably about it. So,
Right.
and
Oh
she's got
man.
so many more emotions, and I'm blessed that she takes those on because females just because of physiologically, like the hormones and stuff, and all like premenstrual cycle and all that,
Yeah.
even giving birth, like they have to deal with all that garbage that we as men don't have to. So I'm so blessed that my wife takes care of that. And so when she starts seeing something in me, I take it seriously. Like she says, "Hey, you're starting to be, oh, because I have actually started fasting a lot. I like fasting. Usually fast 2 days a week. I'm blessed with a very slow metabolism or efficient metabolism, like I say, because I just look at food and I gain weight. And so I've been fasting a couple times a week. And my wife says, "Hey, I just noticed that when you fast, you're hungry, obviously, but then you get a little irritable
Hmm.
and sometimes you get a little angry." So I'm
Hmm.
like, "Do I really?" And at first I was like, "No, of course I don't." But I'm like, wait. Let me, okay, yes, let me acknowledge that and receive that. So whenever anybody brings it in, not thinking somebody else is wrong. As soon as you start thinking somebody else is wrong because for their perspective, then you start being arrogant. You're thinking about yourself. So I said, let me take that in and let me acknowledge it. And then if it happens, let me receive it and try to temper that
Well, then you
anger.
can then you can figure out why. That's the
Correct.
big thing, and it's not
And then
why
now
from your
I
childhood
watch for it.
trauma. It's why from whatever's happening, like right now. And like the thing that taught me as a man about emotions was as we get older, people start dying, and there's some things that happen with families and things like that. I am 47, dude. I'll be 48 next month, and I just learned how to grieve 3 months ago. Like I learned how to truly feel deep grief so that it could pass. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Yep.
And I have learned in my pursuit of greatness that my real job with me is to not control my emotions, not suppress my emotions. It's to find ways to feel through them. And like you said, believe people when they say this is being expressed and go there. And then that gives me the strength to contain my wife's emotions or my daughter's emotions. Jesus Christ, freaking daughters have a lot of emotions. And like,
Totally.
you know what I'm saying? And like if we can't do that in our community and in our family and our container, then it's just gonna create chaos because the man has to kind of anchor that. It's just true. You can get mad at me all you want, but the man is the emotional anchor of the house. But I think men fail there because they don't have the language or the skill set that they've developed to feel their emotions and contain them and then redirect with choice toward that positive, toward that good, toward that benefit
And
for them.
I like exactly what you were saying. And I word it in a little bit different way that the men, we are the ones that are should be bringing peace to our families. Because you know, if you have a daughter that's a teenager, there's going to be chaos. And
Dude,
if they're fighting with their mom,
that's not what the world tells you. The
I
woman
know they.
brings peace, and if she's not at peace, then everything's no. It is
Oh,
your
happy wife,
job.
happy life. I
No,
hate
that's
that
bullshit.
statement. That's
Terrible,
absolute garbage.
total crap, total
100%.
garbage, dude.
But we as men, though, we need to bring peace because chaos starts to happen. We're the ones that don't have to deal with the emotions, deal with all these hormones that fly through our bodies. We need to be the ones to say, no, it stops here, meaning I'm not going to let myself spiral down this argument with my wife or my kids. I'm going to stop everything and I'm going to bring everything back to peace.
We do marriage counseling regularly, just as a third. We have a rule now. Actually, this is a really good rule for anybody out there. Is you know how like in arguments the past will come up a lot. You know what I'm saying? We actually just started doing this, and I think it's been really helpful. Is the reason we go to counseling is so that we can bring up a past trigger with a third party there to referee, basically. But we don't do that in our normal conversations anymore. We just if someone brings up something from the past, it's just like nope. We
Button
can
it
say,
down. Yes, 100% agree.
but that's containment. We're not avoiding
Yep.
it. We're not suppressing it. We're just containing, bro. That's all we can do sometimes. Dude, I
I
love you,
love that.
man. What a great chat. We
This
need
has
to
been
get.
great.
I love listening to how other men, especially when I know you so personally and I see all the great things these guys in my life. I'm so blessed with the greatest network of great men. I can't imagine that I have the friends that I have, dude. And I just want to tell you, man, I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your worldview today. Thank you for sharing like all these different things. And before we go, though, tell everybody where they can find a little more Dustin Heiner and what are you excited about this year? What are you working on? What's going on?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, I have my own podcast called the Master Passive Income Podcast where it's literally a solo show. I've been doing it for 10 years, a couple million downloads, and it's going great just coaching people how to invest in real estate because I want to help a million people to invest in real estate. So you can check out the Master Passive Income Podcast. Or if you want to connect with me on Instagram, I'm almost 280, 257,000 followers now, just trying to help people. So you can find me on the Dustin Heiner as my handle on Instagram. But what I'm excited about really is I am so pumped to help more and more people. We create a software that's helping people to invest in real estate better and make income. But in the end, what it really comes down to is, one of the personal thing that I really love. We moved to Tennessee, so we're in your neck of the woods, which is
Yes, sir.
fantastic. We're going to buy, Lord willing, we want to buy 50 to 100 acres. So I'm going to be picking your brains on what to do there, then and there. But that's what I'm excited about.
I got 40. It's a lot to bush hog. I'll talk. Maybe I can talk you into 10. No, buy the 200 acres, but like make 195 of it forest. That's what
Oh,
you got to do. That's the mistake I made. I've got like 30 acres I got to mow. Okay, so
oh,
that's all. So we'll
not
talk.
cows? You don't get cows or anything?
I ain't got no cows. What are you talking about, man? I'm here to. I look at nature. I don't interact with it. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I want. I want a cow farm. I want sheep. I'm gonna farm. No more,
All right.
no more of this, nonsense. I want to create
I'll
more
get you.
farms.
I'll get you a farmer's hat and a pipe for Christmas, so you can go out
There you
there and
go.
walk around. All right, brother. Appreciate you, dude. Thanks, Dustin.
Thanks, man.
All right, y'all. That wraps up my conversation with my good friend Dustin Heiner. Love that dude so much. I love talking to people that are objectively living greatness on their terms. And what I notice is that there's so many ways to be great. And, from Dustin's story, like just the choices he made, the decisions he made, the beliefs he's adopted, the things that he does, that is creating a great life for him, a great life for his family, a great life for his kids, and a great life for the people that he serves. That was probably my favorite part of this episode. One of my big aha moments is, when you really focus outward, your life moves toward greatness better. It just does. I mean, if you're only focused inward all the time, and I'm talking about either self-criticism or even inner work or even everything else, if you're only thinking about yourself, I don't know how that leads to any form of greatness. But when you look up, when you look out, when you choose to project out into the world, that seems like a better path to build a great life on your own terms. So thank you guys so much for listening today. We would love to have you check out everything that we're doing over at greatmen.org. We have a free community called the Great Men Brotherhood. You can check that out and interact with other great men who are out there trying to build things, whether it's businesses, whether it's a life, whether it's more trust in themselves, whether it's restoring their family, whatever it is. We're talking about real things. We're talking about real life. We're talking about our emotions. We're talking about how we're interacting in the world. We're talking about what greatness looks like for you and how you can build that in your life. I'm a big believer that there is no blueprint for this. Nobody knows what they're doing. We're all just making it up as we go. But there's a freedom in that. And when you learn from other great men, when you're around other great men, like I get to hang around people like Dustin and other people you've heard here on the show, it helps you accelerate that process a lot better. So check it out, the Great Men Brotherhood at greatmen.org. Also, you can follow me over on Instagram or Facebook. That's where I usually post most of my content. Just look up Shane Sams. I'm at Shane Sams Creates on Instagram right now. Check it out. We got clips of the show and a lot of additional content that we have to help you pursue greatness in your own life. It's all the time we got for this week. I'll see you next time.